Here we are, this is Dec again, Dec@makehits.com. And this is 4 minutes on the net with Dec, Serious Writers Guild at makehits.com. Out on the Eastbourne Downs, enjoying myself. And there's a couple over there, and they've brought a dog up here. And they're whistling for the dog. I think the dog has found a rabbit, so they're in a lot of trouble. They're whistling away, but he won't come. Oh, he might come in a minute. I used to have gun dogs I just told him I had gun dogs all my life, so I know the problem well. I'm going to talk to you this week about lighting. Well, this is very interesting for a lighting situation because the sun is right behind me. There's the sun. Oh my goodness me. Cameras like the ZI-8 and most cameras, like what you might call inexpensive, you know, not hugely expensive, you will always have a light problem. This one is quite good at adjusting. I'll just explain to you. There is the light pointing right at me, and then there is the camera pointing into light, and I disappear. Yeah, so you got to be very careful when you're doing this sort of work that you get the lighting right. Make sure that the light source is pointing at you. Well, that's the most important thing. A trick I do as well, because I use I've been using selfies for donkey's years, before selfies were invented. And believe it or not, I'm going to a shop tomorrow because I've seen a particular selfie stick that I fancy. This is actually, you wouldn't believe it, is a golf stick. It's a child's plastic golf stick. And I simply tape the camera onto the golf stick. That's all it is. And, you know, and I hope you think this is highly professional. Well, that's the way it is. But make sure that you put the camera above your head. In other words, if you go like that, I'll just demonstrate. Now you're picking up the sky, and I'm sure, I don't know, but I'm sure I've quite disappeared. But if you go up there, where, okay, it's inconvenient for me because I've got to keep looking up, but that will pick up the ground, which is dark, so I'm lighter than the ground because I'm lit by the sun. So there's a trick. So this is all about lighting. I've covered microphones, I've covered the type of camera, and this is about lighting. I would suggest, and they're not very expensive, you get what's called an umbrella situation, and I'll put it on the screen, show you, much better than me talking about it. The lamps are quite expensive. They're about £20 each if you break them. And some genius dropped one of mine the other week and broke it. And that way you can use the umbrella either pointing away from you or pointing towards you. If you point it with the light on this side of the umbrella, therefore the light's going to be quite bright. But if you turn it around the other way, then the light will be what's called diffused, just like the sunlight. Again, make sure it's behind the camera and make sure it's looking at you. They can be overly bright for this sort of camera, so you just use your loaf, use your nut. If you're into making films, if you really fancy the idea of making serious videos and films, then you can use what's called an obscura effect. Obscura is very interesting. It means, it's the word obfuscate. It means it cuts out some of the light, and you've seen that. You'll see that an awful lot in films and in good TV dramas, where the light is coming from one side, and it's a fabulous effect. So it just lights one side of the person's face. I do that a lot when I'm doing stuff for audition tapes for Hollywood and Disney, and they can't believe the effects I get. And you don't need much light actually. If you're doing it in your front room and you've got your ordinary window there, then have the window there and make sure the window is just lighting this side of your face, and you will be astonished at the effects you can get. It's lovely. Don't be afraid to use colour as regards lighting. That's the final thing I'll say. Go down to your local theatre and have a chat with the theatre manager, and he'll actually give you take him for a drink or whatever, and he'll give you some gels, say some 32 blue, which is we call there's Congo blue, which is 127. I think that's Lee 127. I have to know all the numbers of lights. I have to know everything in my business. And that will give you that lovely luscious blue that you see on TV a lot. And then you've got the reds and you've got the pinks. Don't be afraid to use them. Throw them on. Get a cheap light and put the gel in front of it. Just tape it on and then throw it on the wall behind you. And you can get some stunning effects. All this stuff is really easy. It's really easy. But there we are. 4 minutes on the net with Deck. So it's Deck Cluskey, makehits.com. 4 minutes on the net with Deck. See you next week. Why don't you join the Serious Writers Guild? Go on, join. Then you can talk to me direct. Bye. Down this very steep hill. Bye. The home of the Serious Writers Guild.